while she does not mind, if you want to know the effects of Trumpism, the effects of right-wing. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. My three new embroidered shirts are in the wash right now. So I'm back to the temporary shirt that doesn't give the best look as it is before, but we are here and we're here to have a great time. How's everybody doing? Welcome aboard, Eric Hayes. Welcome aboard, Deborah Moyer. She says, hola Pasi. Welcome aboard. May Wood says, good afternoon, everyone. And how is everybody today? We are doing just fine. Michael Rudden says, I am away. Be back tomorrow, most likely. Small chance of coming in late, but as long as we have your presence, we are happy. Julie Henderson says, Will, a.k.a. Santos, receive congressional pay and pension? He can now enter congressman on his resume. Thanks to McCarthy. And I understand he's going to have a committee chair as well. Welcome aboard to the show as well. Lee Grant is in the house. How you doing, Brother Lee? and the one and only Yvette Avery Herod, our expert on unionization. And with us as well is Alistair Waters. How you doing, my beautiful Alistair Waters? How you doing? Brige MCP is in the house. Julie Henderson is in the house. Para ver. Well, look, let me tell you guys, I got to get a few more channels started, but lucky me, I have Tom C is in the house, like the t-shirt, Casual Tuesdays. Me gusta eso. I like the way you said that. You cover me. Lee Grant says, as a conservative Republican, I do not support raining violence on the political opposition. I know you don't, Lee. Remember, I believe we're all basically good people. The crackpots are the ones doing the things, and it so happened most of the crackpots right now are on the other side. But I tell you what, folks, let's get started with I cleaned up the speech that I gave to the Cy-Fair Democratic Club, but it's a speech on winning the Democratic message, the narrative. Some of it you've heard me say before. Today I'm saying it in a different context. I hope you will all listen to it, and also I hope you will share this video. I think this is a video that can actually help us along the line. But anyhow, let's go ahead and start it. As I play this, I have some other work that I got to get done. So check this out, and then I will be right back after this.
One thing we forget about our brothers and sisters in Yoakum, Texas, and Brenham, Texas, and all these other towns in the country. And these are nice people too. But, you know, they hear about us, and guess what we have? Horns. I mean, if you listen, I ask you to do something at some time. Spend 1 week concentrated on right-wing radio and Fox News. I know it hurts. It hurts.
I can't do that.
And let me tell you why I did that. I wanted to feel what those people were feeling. And I'm going to tell you something, man. You guys scare the hell out of me. Right? I'm not kidding you. You guys scare the hell out of me. If you heard on Fox News and right-wing radio about who you are, you would be scared too. Okay? And what we don't do is we don't change the narrative. And we don't invest in changing the narrative. And that is what, we sit down and we are very smart. We are so damn smart. Right? I went to 5 or 6 Beto events, and Beto could name why it is, and I talk about this on my talk show. Healthcare. The people in what I did hear Beto say on the campaign is, you are being assassinated by your people in Austin, by the guys who elect in Austin. The Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act was free for the first 3 years, and thereafter it cost you 10%. That's it. Our Republican legislature chose not to provide Yoakum, Texas, Brenham, Texas, and all these country towns healthcare. They're losing their hospitals. And whenever a hospital is lost, why don't we have the chairpersons of the different Democratic parties in those cities in front of that hospital saying, this is what Austin has done by not accepting the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act. We don't do that.
Republicans have done it.
They do that. They do that for things that don't really exist, right? They do that for things that aren't real. But when it is time for us to go out there and and do the narrative, we don't. So I always tell people, we talk about all these problems. If you listen to my show,
Why don't they do that?
Why don't they do that?
Why don't we do that?
Because forgive me, we are elitist. It is true. It is true. I hate to say that, but it is true. And I was at one time as well. I would speak about how can that person be so damn stupid to think that. I would go out there and I would say, wait a minute, you should know better. I would go out and say all these things like, you should know that, right? Look, I'm an engineer. I love numbers, right? And I figure if 1 + 1 is equal to 2, every single one of you should know 1 + 1 is equal to 2. And if you don't know it, there's something wrong with you. And I'm not going to spend my time to try to convince you otherwise, because you're just wrong.
We assume they know it.
Exactly. Hey, how you doing? Nice to see you. Yeah. You assume that these people know this thing, right? So my thing is, I'm going to do a plug here for something that I wrote called How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, right? Yeah, and really, the idea being that first you have to humble yourself to not, when they say something that you think is crazy. And trust me, my sister voted for Trump. Okay? So it's not like I don't know what I'm talking about. My sister was a Trumpist. She's an evangelical, true evangelical Christian. Her church has all the reasons why Trump is the second instantiation of Jesus Christ. And yeah. Hey, I'm just a messenger. And so that is what they believe, right? So how do we approach that? How do we talk to these people to make them start talking? It can't be one person doing it. It can't be two people doing it. It has to be a concerted effort done from all of us, right? And all of us have to be humbled. All of us have to decide, you know what? I'm not going to call my neighbor, which I'm surrounded by them. How could you do that? I want to listen to them and hear exactly why they're doing that. And I have a story that I tell in one of my books here, and this is an important one. I live in Kingwood, Texas. I do all my writing, blogging, and everything inside of Starbucks pre-COVID. And this woman comes into the store or to the coffee shop, and she says, "I see you in here every day." And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "What do you do?" So I'm like, "Oh, I'm a blogger." And she says, "Okay, what is that?" So we go ahead and we talk about that. Then she says, I don't remember how the conversation changed, but we got into talking about healthcare, and she was having issues with her insurance company. Mine, this is Kingwood, red, Republican, everything. I mean, when my car is parked outside, all my Republican brothers and sisters come out there because they want to have that conversation, and we kind of go at it. Anyhow, she comes in and we started talking about healthcare. And she started to say, I wish this about my healthcare. And we went step by step, and all I was doing was listening and asking her questions. In other words, how would you solve, if you like that, how would you solve that? You don't want to have to get a what you call that when you go to the doctor and
Pre-authorization.
You don't want that you don't want that. And and those damn co-pays, they get you because they send you from one doctor to the next thing. And those co-pays add up. Mm-hmm. So what would you don't want co-pays like that? No, we should get rid of, and we're doing everything, right? And when she was done describing the healthcare system that she wanted, she was describing what again? This is a Republican. What was she describing, folks?
Obamacare.
No, it's better than Obamacare. Medicare for all, healthcare for all. In other words, she would like if she didn't have to pay premiums. She would like if she didn't have to do all these things, but she liked it. I'm feeling guilty now because I know this woman think I'm this black Republican in Kingwood, given that I'm there all the times, and this white woman comes and she's like, "Hey, this is what we're having this great conversation." And then I feel guilty now. So I said, "Man, I just want to let you know, I'm one of them left-wing, progressive, liberal kind of guys." And she stopped and she said, "But you're so nice."
Where are your horns? To the front.
We got horns, right? We got horns, man. So she's like, "You're so nice." And then I'm like, "Man, there's a group here in Kingwood called Liberal Ladies Who Lunch. You should go and have lunch with them sometime." And then she I thought, like I said, I was feeling guilty because I figured she thought I was this conservative dude just writing stuff. And anybody who read my stuff know that I'm like way on that side, right? So she comes in and I thought the conversation was going to end. I honestly thought. But you know what it turned out to be? she wanted more, she wanted more, she wanted more. And she kept on talking because finally she came up with the message. She came up with the idea of what she wanted to see in healthcare. And it turned out to be what we have been preaching about all of the times. And what I'm saying is there's this abstraction that the way they look at things that we have to get over. And that's why I said if they feel, and the other thing that they feel is that nobody listens to them. We know that's not true, but if that's what you want to believe, that's fine. Once you earn that degree of trust, where they don't think you look at them as some sort of a oddball, idiot, a fool, or whatever, that you actually have a human relationship with them, suddenly, I have another quick one I want to add here. This one is another one. I was in the gym. This is all pre-COVID, by the way. I'm in the gym. And I'm working out, and again, in Wood, my gym, all red. And in fact, it was a thing. There was a point in this gym when I walked in, some of those guys were, hey, there goes the pinko, the pinko, so, there's all kinds of stuff.
All the TVs are on Fox News, right?
You know it, right? Yeah, exactly. So anyway, this one time I went into the gym and I'm pulling down and lifting weights, and this guy hit me real hard in the back slap. Hey, dude, you're going to like what I'm going to tell you. I'm like, okay. What is that? He said, you're going to like who I'm voting for. And I'm like, okay. Who are you voting for? And this was when Beto was running against Ted Cruz. All right? So he said, I am voting the entire Democratic slate. This is a right-wing red Republican. So I looked at him in shock. And before I got a chance to say anything, he said, but I'm no damn Democrat.
That's okay.
So I said, okay. So, I mean, one of the things that I use all of the time is I tell folks, look, I'm not trying, look, our party a lot of times is culture, right? Texas used to be a Democratic state. Then it was made to believe that Democrats had an issue. Democrats became a bit too ethnic to some. And when that occurred, it gave the freedom to many to migrate. Fine. So what I tell folks all the time is, look, when you go into the booth, when you go into the voting booth, remember one thing. Your vote is between you, the machine, and God. You can vote whatever you want and come out and tell all your friends, I voted for Trump. But vote the right way. What are you trying to do? Vote your interest. If we get people to start voting your interest, then it doesn't matter what party they are. It doesn't matter what you want to call yourself. So those are the kinds of principles and things that I push on my show, my blogs, and everything. And I think one of the other things that I like to ask people to do is, guess what all of you guys are? Bloggers. Every single one of you that, yeah, read it. You went like, no. No, let me tell you what I mean by that, okay? Who reads the Houston Chronicle every day? Who reads newspapers online? Who read anything online? All right? Let me tell you what the difference between a lot of times ourselves and others. How many people read a story and says, that is crazy, or why did they say that? How many people see that and go, you right? Let me show you how you're a blogger now. Everybody gets information over the internet now. Okay? That's how they get it. They read comments, they do all these things. If more of us, when people put crazy, you-know-what, on paper, in comments or whatever, we engage civilly, not with dirty words or obscenities or whatever. Every time I respond to comments, it doesn't matter what they call me, but you guys can imagine the kinds of things that I get called. Okay? It doesn't matter what they call me. I'm always one way, friendly, respectful, with a smile. Why? Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who folks are. Eventually, it works. And eventually people, even the ones that called you, whatever the things are that they called you, are going to gravitate towards you. And many times you'd even get emails that said, oh, damn, I'm sorry. And talk about changing minds. So again, everybody here's a blogger. Whenever you read stuff, comment. Let yourself be heard. I even blog in the grocery store. If I hear somebody saying something silly, I'll say, hey, how you doing? And by the way, I don't think that is exactly that way. And whatever. Oh, you have a nice day. You're a blogger. You're a verbal blogger. You know, you never we make too much go unanswered. We should kindly, with respect, civilly, with a smile, answer absolutely everything that needs to be answered. And you know what? We'll start changing minds. And with that, I think estoy terminado. I'm done. Any questions that anyone wants to ask?
That's a very sane perspective.
I hope so. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So you have a book
Yes.
to talk about how to talk to your Republican frenemies?
My frenemies? Actually, that's exactly, you listen. Actually, I say talk, right? But believe it or not, when I'm in, like I said, I'm in a red Starbucks, right? I would do probably 80% to 90% of listening to see what makes them tick. And then most of the other things that I'm doing is asking them questions. And it's fascinating that the questions that they reply to you with the things that they come up with, and even things as simple as immigration. I tell you another quick story. Sorry, another quick story. There's a guy in Starbucks that comes in all the time, and he hates immigrants, and he thinks immigrants should go back over the border and all of that, right? And I said, really? I said, I'm an immigrant. I'm from Panama. You know, well, you want me to go over the border? No, but you came here legally. How do you know that? How do you know that? But I work hard and I do everything. Anybody who, let me tell you my policy. I'm not saying this should be Democratic policy or anything. My policy is if you are strong enough to step your foot in America or wherever, I don't want to throw you out. Because that showed me that you're ingenious.
Lady said, don't go.
Yeah, that tells me you are an ingenious person, right? Hey, were the Pilgrims ingenious? They came and they said, so anybody who stepped foot in America, but I won't say that politically reasoned. You know, we can't say that. You can't say that. But anyhow, so that's what this guy, I finally explained to him. Then I told him, look, the truth of the matter is immigrants provide much more to the society. And by the way, our social security system would kind of crater if we don't have that, right? And he didn't believe me. So he went ahead and he did some research. And he comes back into Starbucks and he said, hey, Burl, guess what? I want immigration. I'm like, hey? Then I said, he said, but I want to do it the Republican way. And I said, what is Republican way? And then he started to explain. And I said, tell you what I'd like you to do. Write a blog for me. And I'll put it under a pseudonym so that your Republican friends don't see it. And no. I want to write the blog. And you can post it under my name. I'm like, okay. And he came up with immigration policy. I disagreed with how he wanted to do it because, in effect, he wanted to make a buck on, that's on immigration. But it was an answer, right? He had a policy that was going to. So I said, okay, I'll print the blog, and if we could compromise on something like that, hey, that's great. So that is the thing. The thing about it is let folks do their talking and ask them the questions. And generally speaking, because progressives, and I don't want to sound conceited, but progressives are right. Okay? Progressives are right.
I agree.
And if you take a look at the definition of conservatism, there is nothing within the conservative mantra that gives you any hope of progress for anyone. It's just what conservative means, status quo. Right? So you let, and guess what? Most people want progress. So therefore, if most people want progress, guess what most people are? Progressive. If you doubt it, Elizabeth Warren, I love Elizabeth Warren. She's one of my idols, right? Elizabeth Warren, I went to Netroots Nation, and Elizabeth gave a speech, and I recorded that speech because it was like wow, she hit the nail on the head. She ran through a whole lot of polls. And she don't ask anybody if they are progressive, liberal, or anything. She goes through the polls and asks the policies that everybody wants. And progressive policies are supported by at least, and I don't kid here, at least 65% of people support the entire progressive mantra. How can we lose elections? How can we lose elections? Narrative.
Disinformation.
Narrative. But even with disinformation, narrative, right? You go out there, look, today on my radio show, I told the folks, hey, Austin is killing you. Okay, we have to make it a gut feeling for people. We don't attack people, we attack the politicians. We don't attack. I don't attack any person. In other words, if you're a Republican person or whatever, I don't want you to ever feel like what we're doing is attacking you. What I want to do, though, is attack the politicians because they're the ones that are actually doing wrong to us all. Not on you, Brother John. Not you. You're a good guy.
I'm actually an engineer pretending to be a politician.
Well, actually, both of us are mechanical engineers. So, yeah. But yeah, so I mean, so that is where that is where I'm at. Okay, that's it. Any other thing that anyone want to ask?
So tell us about Thanksgiving with your sister.
You know what's so funny? Let me tell you how this happened. You remember when COVID just started, right? She was anti-mask, anti-vax, and all of that, like every Republican was. And I called her up and I said, hey, Clara, I know that you're a Trumpist. I know that you don't believe in the mask and all of that. Do you love your brother, yes or no? Of course. That's a stupid question. How dare you ask that? All right. Then I just want you to do something for me. Wear your damn mask and take the damn vaccine. Okay? I don't care if you want it or not. Just do it for me. And, that's how I worked with my sister. I imagine you'd have to do some other. I have some other friends. There's a friend of mine that refused to take it, and I hounded him for probably the vaccine, that is, and I hounded him for probably 3-4 weeks, and he finally took it. What I try to do is, just work on a personal level. I think things like that you have to work on a personal level. Yes, ma'am.
No, I can't convince my kids to get vaccinated.
Yeah, are they on the other side of the aisle too? Yeah, I mean it's not easy. That's why I always tell folks to just treat folks with respect. And what I use with some as well is remember, and this one is sort of, I don't know how nice this is. I always say is, remember this: if something happens to your kid because you happen to have been wrong, how would you feel? In other words, if something happens, that tends to work with some as well. So
They got a tendency to twist everything anyway.
yes, yeah, but
They all had COVID.
yeah. But you know what? We're not going to change 100% of people, right? But the thing about it is, as human beings, we succumb a lot to peer pressure. And if we can peer pressure some people into doing some things, sometimes that works. Yes, ma'am.
How do you find the inner patience and zen to talk to some of these people? I just can't sometimes.
And everybody does. I mean, if you can't do it, you can't do it. In other words, and you shouldn't feel guilty for not doing it, right? Like I said, progressives, we know one thing. We are at the position that we are right. So we can, and I really am not saying that to be conceited. Like I was talking to Jaime, and I was telling Jaime, numbers are not enough, but we have the numbers. You have to have the numbers are not enough. I can give you all the statistics, right? What cures poverty? I could give you all those numbers. How you get rid of crime? In other words, the party that believes in family values don't take care of families. I could put that in all these different things, numerically speaking. But people don't think like that. People think in stories, right? So, and that's why if you notice, In my book, I have a whole lot of stories. I just tell them a story. This happened, that happened, that happened. And people then take all these stories and put it together in their heads when they're going to make a change. As far as how I keep my Zen, practice. No, really. I get a lot of people on the radio program call me and give me hell because they think that I give folks on the right too much play. In other words, I will really talk to them and engage in them. And my question to those folks is, why should I engage you? You're already there. You should help me engage them. So the thing is, after you convince yourself that, you remember that phrase when you're young, sticks and stones don't break my bones or something like that, or something like that, right?
The names.
Right. So that's why, nothing bothers me. I don't care how they talk to me, tell me stuff or whatever. It kind of just flies over, and I just keep on the particular mission. And again, everybody doesn't have to do that. We just have to have a few who are willing to do that.
Because, for example, I don't engage with my family on politics. Like, it's just become a rule with me at all.
Engage, but let me tell you something. Let me just tell you something. Family is where you can actually she comes to the show every day, both shows. She types and everything. And she had a bad thing with her sister. She's up in New York. And one Saturday, she found me and she called me and she was crying her heart out about, she went to her sister and she can't believe how MAGA they were and whatever. And I looked at her and I said, don't break. She says, I'm done with them. I'm done with the family. I said, don't break it off, man. Go to your stuff. And every time she tell you something, they say, hey, I love you, and whatever. And a few weeks later, she says, damn, McBurdo, you know what? They still MAGA, but at least they're listening now. So you don't give up on these folks, because guess what? They need a place to land. All right. People need a place to land. And if they don't have a place to land, they'll stay in oblivion. But if they know that they have a place to land, in other words, anybody who I talk to, they know that if they come and tell me, oh man, I've seen they're not going to say I've seen the light, but they come and they say, oh wow, I think I want to do it. They know that I'm not going to say, well, damn it, I told you so. You were a damn fool before. I'm not. You see what I'm saying? So they know that they have a place to land, and that's one of the things that I always tell people: give people a place to land. And yes, ma'am.
I'd like to get your impressions of January 6th and where you think that's going to go.
I can tell you where I hope it's going to go. I hope we have the pelotas to go ahead and put the president in jail. I hope look, it's funny, right? Everything in this country always operates the same way. The people, the peons, those of us who are on the bottom level always get convicted, thrown in jail, and all of that for things that gets done. And if you look at all the 400 or so people that have been thrown in jail or whatever, they weren't the instigators. It's the Trump sycophants and others that's instigators, and they're still walking around. I think if our Justice Department doesn't get Trump and his first line tier, we would have failed. And, I don't really have an answer there, but we would have failed if we don't do that. Because again, those guys were programmed to do what they did. Those aren't bad folk that they were programmed. You feel sorry when you watch some of the interviews with these guys. They were programmed to they believe this stuff. Like they believe you have horns. They believe you have horns, man. Yeah. Anything else? Yes,
I always thought the Democratic Party represented the majority, working stiffs, like you say, and family values.
Yeah.
But it seems like the Republicans have stolen that mantra without the substance. And how a Democrat's going to be able to come back and win back the majority of the people like us.
Well, you scare the hell out of people. You can get them. You can get them to believe anything, right?
But how do we change that?
We have to be in front of people. In other words, right now we stay away from those people who are those on the other side, right? Look, the divide and conquer really works, right? It actually really works. I go to Tea Party events, right? I go to all these things and the reason I go to these things is because I want folks to know, first of all, I'm not scared of them. That's number one. And number two, I don't hate them. So if I'm not scared of them and I'm willing to engage, the problem is that we allow those people to make a caricature out of us, and then we accept that caricature when I say we accept the caricature, I mean we accept that caricature by not refuting it or by not being there. And my thing is to be engaging all of the times, and you don't have to be rude to be engaging. I mean, on my chat, Daniel Ledo, if you look at the chats that go through with that, it's like he's attacking, and the responses is just one at a time, and it's not for him. It is for everybody that's in the community that's seen all those messages. That even if he's people actually see the response from what a progressive looks like.
How can we hear you, Egberto?
Oh, thank you. Politicsdoneright.com is the website for the program, yes, sir.
You're like it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can go to politics.
Unless you want to pick up the tab.
Oh, no, but you can pick it up for me. Politicsdoneright.com is the website. And also, I'm all over. I'm on YouTube, TikTok, everything. So you can go ahead and find, but the name of the program is Politics Done Right. So you can find that everywhere on the internet. And please listen to KPFT 90.1 FM Houston. We're trying to build back our listenership, and you know what happens when you're kind of off your program.
All right, folks, that was my thing. And the last message in the chat says, from my brother Lee Grant, I don't think Egberto's strategy to win over the right really works. Unfortunately for you, sir, it does. It actually does. And I have the emails to prove that it does. And the reason it does is because it is honest and very, very honest. So it may not work with you, Brother Grant, because there's a particular sect in this country and that they are immutable. They rather themselves be destroyed than to cop that their ideology is simply wrong. Okay? So as I tell people all of the times, I am not trying to change the minds of 100% of the people on the right. I just want to change the minds of most of the people who already think progressive in nature, but because of cultural and peer pressure and other reasons, they continue to vote against their own interest. I try to give a place to land. I try to give a place to let folks understand that one, they owe nothing to no one, to anyone. And as such, even if they succumb to peer pressure, when they are in the privacy of their own domain, when they are in the privacy of their own booth, their own voting booth, they can do what's right for their families. They can do what's right for their country. Those who are on the right that continue to do what's wrong is not enough to really destroy the country. So for those of you who will remain thinking, even as the numbers say otherwise, then we're not trying to, then again, it's not for you. And Lee Grant says, I'll do my best interest and you do yours. Right, but there are intersectionalities, Mr. Grant. Let's give an example. You don't want Medicare for all. You want your own private thing. I'm using an assumption that I assume I know. You may think that that is good for you. But in me not being able to have Medicare for all because you want a private system, I am subsidizing you. All those people who are on Medicare Advantage, I am subsidizing them. Okay? Again, you may be voting in your own interest at my detriment. So what I'm saying is let's be cognizant of what the definition of society is. It means at times I may not get what's absolutely best for me, but what's best for society, and then what's best for society in the aggregate would be best for us all, which me is within us all. Again, believe it or not, it's the Christian thing, it's the Muslim thing, it's the Jewish thing, it's the Buddha thing. But we have learned from all the false prophets this individualistic thing that hurts us all. These are not questions that I'm asking. These are statements of fact. Julie Henderson says, my favorite bus driver and neighbors are conservatives. We get along very well. No religious or political talk allowed. I value our friendship too much to ruin it with my opinion. And you know, that's good. But don't restrict, how should I say this? Don't let you restricting your opinion be something that allows them to provide their own. In other words, if it's an opinionated option zone 0, let it be that. Just not let them be in control of the zone. Tom C says, no yoke per CNN Business. Surging egg prices mean record profits for largest U.S. egg producers. Cal-Maine's profit increased 65% to $198 million during 3 months, ending November 26th, a year ago. Of course. Inflation is by definition those with pricing power ability to screw us all. Yes, we had a shortage of eggs. Rather, we had an increase in it. Do you know they throw away a lot of eggs and all these stuff in general? Yeah, they do. They do. Anyhow, let's see what else I got here. Awesome talk. Thank you, Breach. Love you, girl. I don't know if you noticed, Breach. There's one little section in there. I made sure to have your name cut. But there was one little section in there because you're so touching with your stories, both on air and off air, that it gives me a lot of you help indirectly a lot of people. You help a lot of people, and many help a lot of people. Okay? Many of you in here, your stories, and like I told them in the beginning of that speech, what works best are stories, and I think that we needed to have all of your stories. And I'm not only talking about the good stories, I'm talking about the good stories, the bad stories, the stories that make no sense. All of that framed correctly does two things. It teaches those on the left the obstacles that they have to overcome, and it helps those on the right, sometimes for those who are willing to put a mirror in front of them, to see that mirror. Anyhow, last night, a criminal got caught. Another gun-touting, conservative, election denier who shot up the homes of Democrats. Check this out. We'll take it on the other side. If you want to know the effects of Trumpism, the effects of right-wing ideologues, and the effects of denialism of election, well, guess what? This former Republican candidate that shoot up in Albuquerque, New Mexico, that you heard of the homes of several Democrats, it was performed by a denialist, election denier, by somebody called Pena. Let's read it. Former Republican, this is just released in the Albuquerque Journal. Former Republican candidate arrested in shootings targeting Democratic politicians' homes. The Albuquerque Police Department has arrested Solomon Pena, an unsuccessful Republican candidate for the House District 14 seat in the South Valley, in connection with the shootings at local Democratic politicians' homes, the police chief announced Monday afternoon. Pena, an unsuccessful legislative candidate in the 2022 election, is accused of conspiring with and paying 4 other men to shoot at the homes of 2 county commissioners and 2 state legislatures, Chief Harold Medina said. AFD had been investigating 6 shootings from December 4th through January 5th, where bullets were fired into Democratic elected officials' home or near others' offices. This is real. This is real. Proud Boys and all these other guys that they're just talking up, they are honestly just what you think they are. And we have to take this seriously. And it seems like the politicians, the Democratic politicians and the government in Albuquerque, New Mexico, they're taking it seriously. Check this out. We'll take it on the other side.
Situation today, I think, obviously points out that these shootings were orchestrated. They were dangerous attacks, not only to these individuals, which is personally the most terrifying for them, but fundamentally also to democracy. That is why this is so terrible. This type of radicalism is a threat to our nation, and it has made its way to our doorstep right here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. But I know here we are going to push back, and we will not allow this to cross the threshold. Fundamentally, at the end of the day, this was about a right-wing radical, an election denier who was arrested today, and someone who did the worst imaginable thing you can do when you have a political disagreement, which is turn that to violence.
It is important, folks, that we take these things seriously. It is important that we come to the realization that MAGA is a clear and present danger to America. It is imperative that we, going forward in other elections, make sure that no other Republican that support the types of guys like these are elected again. Because you know what? They have power. As you can see right now, they're attempting to bring down the economy with the debt ceiling. These people are dangerous for America. Very dangerous for America. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, they are very dangerous for America. And you're Julie Henderson, I like that statement, and I think that's a good corollary to exactly what we talk about. In other words, it's not a fight, it's a conversation. And when you talk about, I won't counter opinion, but I make them accountable for negative actions. Perfecto Mundo. Lee Grant to Maywood says, we Texans will democratically vote our will. You get to vote in that dysfunction they call California. California is actually, it's amazing how we promote California as being dysfunctional. A state that is much more populous than we are, a state where the educational system is much better than ours, a state where, and again, you can look at all the California have a ton of problems. And that is because it's also run by neoliberals, okay? But they have a lot of problems. But even with the level of progressivism that's done in California, which is not as progressive as I would like it to be, there are orders of magnitude as far as many sectors above and beyond us. After all, they're more populated than we are. If we were so great, people talk about the great migration to Texas, the great migration to the South. All of that is true. But these other areas still remain very, very, very much in command of where people want to be. All right? You don't see the mass exodus from California. You don't see that. And that is because they have humane policies. A lot of people come to Texas with California money. They live very well. But you don't see poor people leaving California to come to Texas. You know why? Because we kill them with our policies. We kill them. All right, what time is it? 3:50. There was something else that I I wanted to touch on before I moved on. Let's see. There. Let me go back to your chats here. Para ver. Tom C, I read that one already. Julie says, my favorite bus driver and neighbor. Oh, I read that one already as well. Okay. AVQ, yes, you missed the speech that I gave to the Sci-Fair Democrats, which wasn't a speech just for Democrats. In fact, I'm going to be publicizing it on Daily Kos as well. E2247 says, full documentary about a largely forgotten voting rights, civil rights pioneer and organizer, Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth, 18th March 1922 to October 2011, 56 minutes. Great. Thank you for providing that, sir. E2247 also says, here's a deeper look into the context of Fred's organizing. Never heard of him. So, that's why I love you guys. I learned so much. Lee Grant says, free camping throughout many California cities. I think what you're trying to impress on us is the exploding real estate that goes on because of capitalism, which is occurring in Austin, which is occurring in Dallas, which is occurring in Houston as well. Yeah, I am against this economic system that allows that to occur. That's why I support the type of economic system that I support. And I think you guys understand that quite well. Patrick time. CDC, FDA investigate possible link between updated Pfizer vaccine and stroke. Actually, that investigation was done already, and there is no real correlation between the Pfizer vaccine and stroke. There is a correlation between COVID and stroke. As my cousin, who was a New York Police Department detective, he got COVID before the vaccine, and he got a stroke because of the clotting effects that COVID can have on certain blood types. So he got not only a stroke, he got a slight stroke, a blood clot, and kidney damage, all because of the clotting that happens with that. Guessing Egberta doesn't see my Twitch messages. I didn't see your Twitch messages. Actually, I did see your Twitch message. Democrats should tell Republicans that if you go through with the debt ceiling shutdown, piecemeal funding to keep afloat, the first thing we're going to defund is our border patrols. I would go ahead and defund border patrols and the military at the same time. Roberto Luis, mi hermano favorito, está en el salón. That is Robert Luis, my brother from Panama. Folks, Roberto was over here to help finish up my sidings, and man, he brought another Panamanian brother over here to the house, and they completely did the siding on the top of the house by my office. Thank you so kindly, Roberto. Couldn't have done it without you, sir. Who else is in the house? Maywood says, sure, California has its problems just like everywhere else, but I challenge you to find an example of dysfunction. You know, it's interesting because, Republicans like to just say things and think it's true. But I mean, you go to California for health care, etc., you don't have a problem. You come to Texas, you die. Again, we're talking from people who, anyhow. Daniel Lido says, Maywood, methinks we may disagree on the definition of moderate Democrat. I don't care. I don't believe in moderate Democrats at all. I think moderate Democrats are nothing more than Republicans, really. Let's see what else we have. Robert Davenport, too, says, hundreds of millions of doses administered, and the crazy fringe are afraid of one reported case of a stroke. LOL. Must be afraid to leave the house because they might get struck by a meteorite. But that is not only the concern. The concern that I said is that one of the results of COVID proper is stroke. You get COVID, you get a stroke. And when they look statistically of the vaccinated and the unvaccinated, the amount of stroke in the unvaccinated and the vaccinated are identical. So, for people to believe in this ridiculosity, I find it, the reason I keep harping on this is I believe in humanity. I don't believe in, if I were another type, I would say, okay, folks that don't want to take the vaccine, don't take the vaccine. I don't want you to take the vaccine because you'll die. And you'll be and that would be one less right-wing vote. But I don't think like that. I love humanity whether you're right-winger or not. I mean, sometimes you wonder. Moderate Democrats are what Republicans were a generation ago. True. That is true. Lee Grant says dysfunction is when a pharmacy has to close because they can't afford all the looting. So where is that now? I imagine all over the country. All right, let's see. We are at 56, which means it's time for me to do my ask. I start doing a short ask at the end of the show because it messes with the flow when we do it in the middle, etc., etc., etc. So I want to ask all of you today that have the wherewithal that are listening to please contribute to Politics Done Right. We cannot do it without. If you're on YouTube, just go ahead and hit the join button and become a contributing member to that YouTube channel. Alternatively, if you're not on YouTube but you'd like to be a contributing member on YouTube, you can go to politicsdoneright.com/YouTube, politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. Likewise, you can provide us support on our PayPal account. That PayPal account is at politicsdoneright.com/PayPal, politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. Alternatively, you can become a patron. I would love to get 100 patrons in January. That would make my day. Could you consider being a patron at whatever level by going to politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. Patreon is spelled Patreon, Patreon, politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. You can also support us by getting our books. And again, our books are very informative. Please consider getting one of the political books or all three, politicsdoneright.com/books, politicsdoneright.com/books. But you know what? You can find all the different ways to support us, whether it's be Zelle, Cash App, YouTube, Patreon, PayPal. All of that I have in one place. You can just go to politicsdoneright.com/support and find a way to support what we do. I promise you, I am personally thank you, Robert Davenport, for that kind contribution. Catching up with Bridge MCP from yesterday. Love you, brother. Thank you for that super chat. But I want you guys to understand this. One cannot really profit from this thing. The books and the contributions and the t-shirts and the cups and remember cups. This one was designed by Bridge MCP, and the cups. There is Bridge's cup. All these things, bits and pieces, support what we do. It allows me to do this. It allows me to drive to KPFT 3 times a week because KPFT pays me $0 to be there, but I feel a necessity to be in every domain, on air, on the internet, and everywhere else. So it is a composite contribution that all of you make here on my internet show that allows me to expand and do what we're doing to try to inform people. So I ask you kindly, if you can continue to support this program, and for those of you that have never supported this program, please go ahead and go to politicsdoneright.com/store, go to any avenue that you can and support the program. We are here to make sure we continue to inform and inform and inform, just as the right does. We just do it cheaply, inexpensively, because we actually believe in what we're doing. So again, thank you, Robert Davenport, for that super chat. And for anybody else who wants to give super chats or buy at the store or buy the books or whatever, just contribute as best you can. I ask you so kindly. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.